Hello everyone and welcome along to this, the first in a series of 3 video tutorials aimed at this year's DCG student assignment. My name is Des Kelly and I'm a lecturer of computer-aided design at GMIT Letterfrack, and if you'd like to learn more about the degree programs we offer in furniture design, wood technology and teacher education, you can find more information on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Now, one of the things we also do very well in GMIT Letterfrack is teach a range of computer-aided design and computer-aided manufacture software. And of course, the focus software of this series of tutorials will be SolidWorks. Just to put it into context, this is a project we've recently been working on. On the left, you can see a photograph of a blender. In the center, you can see a SolidWorks digital model of the same blender fully rendered. And just to close the loop, on the right hand side of the screen, we've 3D printed the modeled blender. So this is the focus project of our series of tutorials. Now, to draw this would take approximately 2.5 hours, and that's a little longer than I want to run these videos to. So I've decided to break it up into 3 tutorials. The first tutorial will deal with the curved component, the main body of the blender. The second tutorial will deal with this organic curved handle, and the final tutorial will deal with the modeling of the blender blade, which is actually quite complicated. And after that, if you're still hungry for more, you can visit the GMIT Letterfrack YouTube channel. Here you'll find a wide selection of SolidWorks tutorial videos covering a wide range of features and assemblies and drawing techniques. And it's also where you will find a number of tutorials relevant to this year's student assignment. For example, we have a tutorial explaining how to accurately and precisely put the etchings, the markings onto the glass or plastic jugs. Another tutorial explaining how to put high quality decals, writing and stickers onto surfaces. Also how to get quality functioning connectors between plastic components, such as between the jug and the lid, and also how to model this complicated sweeping twisting cord. And finally, it's also a great place to find out how to generate these high quality renderings, which are also part of the requirements of the DCG student assignment. So let's begin. So if you look at the right hand side of the screen, you can see the components that we want to draw in this portion of the lesson. And I've called this working with curved components because there are no straight lines or edges in this entire portion of the project. So to begin with, we will use a lofted boss base feature, including the use of guide curves, to generate this curved shape, starting from the bottom all the way to the top. We will be using sketch pictures to help get an accurate profile or curve of the project. We will use the shell feature to hollow out the jug, the revolved boss base feature to generate this circular portion at the top of the jug. We will use splines to make sure that we can control the curvature quite precisely. And finally, we will use the split feature, as you can see here, to split the base and the jug apart. So moving over to SolidWorks, and you should see that I'm using the 2016-2017 version of the software. If you are using a different version, the color scheme and the layout may look slightly different, but the icons and the features should all be in the same location and still will have the same functionality. Also, before I begin, I'm assuming a very basic knowledge of SolidWorks to begin with, so I'm not going to explain the minute details of all the features and elements, but I'll do my best to explain all the important parts for this project. So if we open up a new part, I'm going to begin a sketch of a center rectangle on the top plane. Hit spacebar and normal too. And I'll draw a rectangle starting at the origin, and let's turn it into a square by adding a dimension to the top, 150 millimeters, and one to the side, also 150 millimeters. Now I want that square to be for construction. So to do that, click each of the lines in turn and select for construction. And as you do that, you can see they will turn to center lines. There we have it. So now I will do the same thing, another rectangle, snapping onto the origin again, and make sure you see that little yellow icon that shows that it's going to snap a constraint and definitely snap the point onto the origin. Put another point there onto the diagonal, and again make sure you see that yellow marker. And this time, just to be different, I will dimension this from corner to corner and put on a value of 170. That's called an aligned dimension. Same thing here, I want all four sides of that square to be a construction or center line. This time I'll do it a little differently. I'll select one of them, then holding Control, I will select the other three. That will make sure that it won't forget the other lines as I select new lines. And over here you can see selected entities, 4 lines. Simply click for construction. It will turn all of them to construction in a single click. Now moving up here, I'm going to call up the 3-point arc, and I want to start at that point, end at that point, and ensure tangency there to that line. And you can see as I come close to the line, the little yellow marker shows me that it's about to imply a constraint. And there we have it. Now it doesn't always work because it does depend on the direction, whether you put the curve in clockwise or anti-clockwise. So if I put one here, it will actually not pick up the constraint. But that's fine, I want to show you both ways of doing it anyway. So place the curve there and deliberately miss. We'll place the curve over this side, and that one picks it up. And we place the one at the bottom, and that one should also miss. So you can see 2 of them have missed. So tap Escape to clear the memory, and this is how you actually apply the command on purpose, the constraint on purpose. Click the curve, then holding Control, also click the line, and select over here, tangent. Press the green tick to approve it, and do the same for these pair. Select the line and the curve by holding Control, and then add a tangent constraint. We're almost ready with this sketch. I just want to ease the corners. There's a little sharp point there, so I will use a sketch fillet set to 10 mil and pick all 4 of the corners. Approve that, and then close the sketch. Even though that looks quite complicated, as far as any feature, such as the loft feature, is concerned, it will only see the solid lines. Now let's put on some planes. Reference geometry, plane, and I need a reference to base my plane on, so I will expand the feature manager and select, in this case, the top plane. Now for some reason my version of the software will not allow me to pull this arrow up to move the plane, but yours may. So I'm just going to set the value over here. Change that to a value of 130. And press the green tick to apply. Now you'll notice this plane 1 is already selected. So if I call up another reference geometry plane command, it will automatically have picked that as the base plane, and it will try to put this new plane a value above it. That value over here is going to be 45 millimeters. And approve that. So to draw on those 2 planes, the bottom one, plane 1, I will select it, start a sketch of a circle, and be sure to snap onto the origin and draw a circle. And let's dimension that to be a value of 115 millimeters. Be sure to close the sketch, make sure it's on that plane, which it is, and then select the other plane, the top plane, plane 2. Again, start a sketch of a circle on that plane, snap onto the origin, draw the circle, and dimension this one to be diameter 90. Close the sketch, and we're set. I no longer need these planes, so right click them by their edge and hit the eye icon or else the glasses icon in the earlier versions. And we now have 3 sketches capable of being lofted. In fact, I can apply the loft temporarily by clicking Lofted Boss Base and click each of the profiles in turn. Now that actually doesn't look bad, but I have a very specific profile I want to achieve, so I'm not going to approve this loft feature. I want to apply things called guide curves. So I will X that. So the best way to explain what guide curves do is to simply use them. So I want to select the front plane in my case because it intersects the model nice and symmetrically like that, and I will open up a sketch on that front plane. So in order to open up the sketch, sometimes you actually have to click a command. So I will click a line command. Now the sketch is active. Do not draw a line, but go to Tools, Sketch Tools, and Sketch Picture. Had I not activated the command, there's a chance that Sketch Picture may have been grayed out and not possible to select it. So on my desktop, I've saved a picture. And this could be a photograph that you have taken of the component you're modeling. If you're drawing along, you can simply take a screen grab of this image, save it as a JPEG, and use that as your sketch picture. If you click anywhere within the frame, you can pan or move the image, or simply use one of the drag handles to resize it. And I'm going to do that. So I'm going to try my best to sync it up with the sketch that I've drawn already. That doesn't look bad. And if you want more precision, you can use some of the properties over here, but we'll cover those in another video. And before I go any further, I want to select transparency, full image, and set it to be pretty transparent so it's not overpowering my drawing. At any point, you can press this green tick to close the sketch picture and simply double click the edge of the sketch picture again to get back in and edit the sketch picture. For now, I want to use a spline tool to trace along the curvature and get it pretty accurate. So use the spline tool. Now you could try to snap onto all the endpoints there, but it very rarely works nice and neatly. So what I tend to do is deliberately miss with all 3 points. So click next to the corner up there, but miss on purpose, miss here on purpose, and miss down at the bottom on purpose. To close the spline, right click, select. And if I turn to a 3D view for a moment, you can see what we can now do. If I select this point, the end point of the spline, hold Control, and then select the curve, over here it gives me the option to pierce them. I now know that that has definitely pierced the circle. So tap Escape to clear the memory. Do the same for this point down here. Click the point, hold Control, click the line, and pierce. Tap Escape to clear the memory. And finally, one more time, click the point, hold Control, and click the curve. And finally, pierce. So now, and tap Escape to clear the memory. Now I have a curve that joins all 3 profiles, but if you look in at the elevation, you'll see the curve doesn't actually meet, or it doesn't sync up with the curvature that I want. So if you click the spline, you'll activate these drag handles. So if you drag it by the diamond shape, it will steer the spline. And if you click and drag it by the tip, the arrow, it will make the spline longer or shorter, more and less line. Now what I want to do is drag this handle until it's perfectly vertical. Or simply click this little diamond and hit vertical. At the top, I'm going to click this diamond and just drag it a little, and drag this one a little as well. This one here, until I'm happy, or reasonably happy, that that curve follows the curvature of my blender. Now before we go any further, I also want another curve the other side, so I will draw a center line. Very carefully pick the center midpoint at the top and down to the origin. Tap Escape and use the Mirror Entities command to mirror this line about this axis. And there you have it. You now have a curve both sides. Now I also need those guide curves on the opposing plane, in my case the right plane. There's a number of different ways of doing that, but a way I found very quick is this. Hover over sketch 5 and you can see it's the sketch I've just drawn. So right click that and select Edit Sketch. Hold Control and select the curve to the left and the curve to the right. And then use the keyboard shortcut command for copy, which is hold Control and tap C for copy. Then close that sketch and begin a new sketch of, say, a line on the right plane. And look normal to it. And rather than drawing a line now, I will go Control V for paste. And it pastes in a copy of the two curves that I just had. So I will then select Move Entities and click the two curves in turn, and I can move them. Now I want to move it with more precision, so when I pick Move Entities and select the two curves, if you haven't done so already, I will select Start Point and pick it up by a known point, for instance this corner, and I should be able to snap it and drop it exactly where I want it. There you go. So you can actually copy sketches from one sketch to another. Now I'm ready to apply my Loft feature with guide curves. So I will go to Features, Lofted Boss Base, select the three profiles in turn. When you have that done, activate the guide curves portion over here and select one of the guide curves. As soon as you select one of the guide curves, this selection manager will appear, so press the green tick. Then select the other guide curve and press the green tick, and repeat for the other two. Now sometimes, it doesn't happen that often, but if this selection manager does not appear, right click in this box and select selection manager, and it should work for you. As you can see now, the model just disappeared there for a second. All four of those guide curves are governing and ruling the Loft feature. The Loft feature transitions between the three curved profiles, but also stays within those guide rails. That allows you to have total control over the component. Now to draw the jug, what we're going to do is start a new sketch, and again I have to open a command, and I'll draw it on the front plane again and look 90 degrees to it. I now have a sketch open, and I'm going to use another sketch picture. So Tools, Sketch Tools, Sketch Picture. This time I'll use this image, and again if you don't have this image, just take a quick screen grab there, save it as a JPEG and use it. Or take a photograph with your digital camera and use that as the sketch picture. I'm going to take a little bit of time to make sure I get it reasonably well aligned for accuracy. And when I'm happy with that, which I am now, I will press the green tick over here. I've closed the sketch picture, but I've not closed the sketch. So actually I'll double click the sketch picture and change its transparency like we did a minute ago to make it easier to see, and draw the following sketch. A line starting at the corner, or as close to the corner as I can, moving in until I pick up the midpoint, then down until I pick up this line, and then across until I pick up that point there. Right click, select. To get this curvature, I will use a spline command, but I'm going to do something a little different. I'm just going to click 2 points for the spline. Now to close the spline, right click, select. I'll adjust that spline in a moment, but for now I want to round this line up to an approximately, well, let's just call it 172. I want it to be a nice round value, and I'm going to call the top line up and give that a value of 68. So to get this curvature, this is a spline, and a spline between 2 points is a straight line, but I can click this and I can use the drag handles to edit it as I see fit. The first edit I make is this top point. I want to drag this diamond drag handle and set that by clicking it and set it to vertical. And then you should be able to steer the other handle so that it rests pretty accurately on top of the sketch. So press the icon on the top right hand corner to close that sketch, and if you apply a revolved feature or a revolved boss base feature, click the icon, click the center line, it should make that feature for you. And now it's time to draw the spout at the top of the jug, so I will click the top surface, call up a sketch and a center line. Hit spacebar, normal 2, and draw a line starting at the right hand extremity of the circle and going all the way to the left like that. Make sure we dimension that to be a value of 155. Then call up a solid line, snap onto the top of the circle there, and come down all the way vertically until you snap onto the bottom portion of the circle as well. Let's dimension that to be 47, And these values are just values that I've experimented with and they seem to work. Then I'll call up a 3-point arc again and snap onto the endpoint of that line, the endpoint of that line, and just leave the arc somewhere approximately there. Another 3-point arc can go at the bottom like this, snap onto there, and leave the curve somewhere approximately there. Finally, if I smart dimension each of those curves to 30 mil, I seem to have missed, we'll try again. 30, enter, and 30, enter, I have the little plan view, if you like, of the spout. So now it's just a matter of doing another revolve feature. Features, revolved boss base, click that line, and it gives me a full 360 degree, I just click this line, sorry, 360 degree revolve. Now I do not want 360 degrees, so simply drag this arrow and drag it all the way back in. It doesn't matter really, as long as it doesn't pop above the surface like that. So down into the surface. Press OK. And one last job, start another sketch on the front plane, just a regular line, look 90 degrees to it, and draw this shape. Snap onto the intersection point there between the spout and the jug, draw a line across any distance really, come down vertically, and complete the triangle like so. Set that angle to be 15 degrees with the smart dimension. And just to have the sketch fully defined, set this line to be a value of 30, it's not critical. And then go to Features, Extruded Cut. And you can see it's only going to cut one direction by default, so I will change it from blind to mid-plane, and now it should cut out the spout for us. Or the slope of the spout like that. So now what we will do is we will split the jug apart. I want to split the jug and the base into two separate components, and I want to do that along the plane I created called plane 1. So I will select that and leave it selected and call up the split tool. Insert, Features, Split. If it hasn't already been selected, select the plane and simply go Cut Part. And to verify the two bits that you want to save, or the two bodies I should say that you want to save, click them in the graphics window. Click the base, click the jug. And just before you press OK on that, be sure to deselect Consume Cut Bodies or they will disappear. Press the green tick. I now have two separate bodies. Over here, a new folder called Solid Bodies has been created, in which I see two separate components. I'm going to select this one and perform a slow double click on it, and I will call that jug, and I will do the same for the bottom, calling it base. Now they are two separate solids. I can hide each of those in turn if I wish, and in fact I will do that. I'll hide the base for now. And the last thing I'll do before I close off this video is hollow out this jug. So click the shell feature, set the wall thickness over here to be 3 millimeters, and then select the faces I want to remove. I want to remove that top face, that spout face, and also the bottom face. Press the green tick to approve it, and I now have a hollowed out jug. Turning back on the base feature, I now see, because I drew it in this way, I have lovely smooth curvature from the base, which is selected there, transitioning nice and smoothly, as I said, up to the jug. Now, to save time, I haven't applied fillets to any of these small elements or areas there, or even to the intersection between the two surfaces of the jug, but they are quite easy to add just using the fillet command. So that concludes the first of these tutorials. Be sure to come back and see the second and third tutorials, where we will be modeling the organic curved handle of the blender, as well as this complicated blender blade. Looking forward to talking to you then.